I am so happy to talk to you, and I've been following you with the Together Fund and some of the things you've been doing. I don't know if you see my big head pop up on the screen the other day when you had the Zoom meeting, but
I did.
Okay, you see it. It's like, I'm ready. I'm ready.
It's hard to miss that big head.
Okay, yeah. Okay. Oh, we got jokes. Okay, see, Pastor Wall normally gets me on the joke. So the Gov, okay, I'm gonna let you slide on that one. So how you been, man?
Man, I'm fine. I'm fine under the circumstances.
Right.
The circumstances are profound.
Right.
I mean, it's every election, I suppose, is about the character of the candidates. I think this one's about the character of the country.
Right.
And I think what the pandemic has done is expose how much unfinished business there is. The very stuff that you've been working on and talking about for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that, we talk about unemployment being low, but it's low only if you count both or all three of the low-wage jobs people have just to survive.
Right.
Inflation is low as long as you don't count the cost of things like rent and, tuition or health care, the sorts of things that stabilize people and enable them to move forward. And of course the reckoning around race, which we've kind of bobbed and weaved and dodged around for much of my life, with a kind of an uneasy peace around non-discrimination laws. But we've never made our peace with actual integration, with actually living together and respecting each other and understanding each other. So there's a whole lot happening right now, and it's not obviously all turning on the election alone. So much has to happen after we win the White House and win the Senate and hold the House and win state houses and so forth. So much more has to happen to push cautious Democrats to think big and act big.
Right.
But the election is a bellwether moment, as you know.
Right. I posted your photo on our Facebook. We have 31 media outlets with, the Boston Praise Radio and TV, and then we have the news station, Boston Black News, actual station. We have our own station, Gov. I mean, where yeah, man, it's really exciting. And so with Dunk the Vote this year, we're bringing the ground game, which we prove it, and particularly, we had to step up in 2006. Rose actually been responding back and forth. Rose Aruda, who is incredible organizer, as you know.
Yes, he is.
So when I was told folks that the Gov's gonna be on the air, that moment came back to me from 2006 and what we did in Boston. We ran out of ballots, and when you were talking the other day, even when we had the event in Grove Hall, it's like it's something about what you say and your motivation and inspiration has caused a lot of us to either run for office, do the work, and now in this moment we need to all come back together again.
Well, Ron, I learned so much from you. It was such a blessing to meet you in the run-up to that campaign. As you know, I was a first-time candidate.
Right.
But you had been around the block a few times. And I think we came together for a couple of reasons, but not the least of which was we both trust and believe in the grassroots. We
Right.
believe that it's important to talk to everybody, to invite everybody to be a part of their own political and civic future. And there's power in the respect shown by going and meeting people where they are, in every sense of the term, right? Where they live, where they work, where they are economically and sort of emotionally and so forth. And I think that was in some ways a kind of a marriage made in heaven. And I will never forget when you came over to our house
Oh, boy.
the first time and met my wife, and I still laugh about it.
Pastor Wall, listen to this one. Oh, yeah, I remember. Go ahead. That was funny. Go ahead.
Oh, that was hilarious. We had met once or twice.
Yeah.
And you were coming over on a Saturday morning, and I don't know if you were coming over for the purpose of meeting Dad.
Yeah, no, we were meeting because we were going to go to breakfast. You said, and you lived down the street from me. I said, I didn't even know he lived down the street. over the rich part of Milton, right?
Oh, stop it! All right, come on.
So I said he live in that part. I don't walk by there too often, but anyway. Go ahead.
So you rang the bell, and Diane answered the door, and I came downstairs, and you had already said hello. You just started laughing, and I said, "What are you laughing about?" I said, I was so relieved, and I said, well, "What is it?" I said, "Your wife is black." It was nuts. You'll laugh about that.
Yeah, but it was like so often, but everybody can do what they want. But anyway, that was just so relieved. Like the brother have a sister. There you go. But anyway, that's all right. Everybody has their own thing. But thank you, Governor. I mean, I really applaud the work that the Together Fund is doing. Could you tell us?
Thank you.
We put a clip of the Together Fund. We heard that prior to you coming on this broadcast, so folks kind of heard that. But if you can kind of give us some nuggets, what are you guys doing? The Together We Win Fund. And tell about the importance of the census, kind of to wrap it all up. And I know I'm asking a lot, but we only got a half hour, so I want to make sure we get all this in.
All right.
And give us marching orders.
So the Together Fund is a platform for my activity helping the Biden-Harris campaign, but also a bunch of candidates for the Senate and for the House who are running in places where Democrats haven't run successfully or haven't even participated for a long time. And so Mike Espy, for example, who's running for Senate in Mississippi, Doug Jones, who's running for re-election in Alabama, special election I helped out with. And then House candidates also in those sort of red to blue districts. And the thesis is it's back to the grassroots, right? If you show up, if you make the case, and you make the case about not just a democratic victory, and I say that as a proud Democrat, but a victory for justice, for kindness, for inclusion, for your neighbors, and that understanding of community, which you've heard me talk about a lot.
Right.
That it's about understanding you have a stake in each other's struggles and dreams, and then we're also supporting grassroots groups in each of the places where we have endorsed a candidate who are themselves helping to bring out the vote in marginalized communities, in black and brown neighborhoods, people who are often overlooked politically and sometimes talked about politically, but not always invited to be a part of the election. And some of these groups, all of these groups actually, very much like your work at Dunk the Vote, are about organizing in between elections. So making sure that pressure stays on when the candidate wins, so that the candidate understands that he or she has to deliver, not just have the job, but do the job.
Right. Well, and I'm glad you mentioned that because, I mean, even when we had the historic win in 2006, the re-election, great. We find it well. Even with the Obama campaign, we seem to always start all over. And that's what's my frustration. And, if we could just invest in the infrastructure of our young people, have a facility, have, staffing all year round so that we can say it's building an organization before the candidate. And I think sometimes we get it backwards. Pastor Wall, you had a question for the Gov? You didn't? Okay. No, he's sitting over there looking at me like, man, don't mess it up. Don't mess it up. No, you want to get all this in. So, I mean, do you agree with that as far as the sustainability?
I do. I really do. I mean, first of all, not all organizing is about politics.
Right.
But real politics is constant advocacy, right? It's not just, here comes an election, let's hurry up and raise money and form a relationship with people through 30-second ads in the last few weeks of the campaign.
Right.
It's about building an understanding, not just of who is going to vote for you, but why.
There you go.
Why? What is your case? What is your need? Right?
Right.
I think of stuff, we had this whole, you remember, Ron, we had this whole criminal justice agenda.
Right.
And it was because we were out talking to people that I learned how important Corey reform was.
Right.
That is the reform of the system that keeps criminal records, and how it was effectively acting as a permanent barrier for people who had been in to get back into the job market and into mainstream life. That wasn't at the center of what our policy agenda was when we started out, but it was because we were listening to people, and that's the big part of grassroots organizing, I think.
Of course.
It's not just talking to people and taking names and numbers and all that. It's listening.
Right.
It's letting people make the campaign and the cause theirs.
Exactly.
And you're being a servant leader. So I think there's a lot of work that the Democratic Party has to do to understand. You know, that my sense is, Ron, and you know, Dunk the Vote has expanded to a lot of the states that we're in at Together Fund and beyond.
Right.
So you may have better sense than I do, but I sense the Democratic Party generally is beginning to understand the importance of grassroots organizing for election purposes.
Right.
But I think we still have some work to do to understand the importance of keeping that grassroots organization in place and expanding it constantly and routinely,
right.
And having real discipline about that.
Right. And you're right. The Democratic Party, it's clearly, you know, they go after the voters, right? But as you've mentioned, in the way we won it in 2006 is the invisible voters, those that don't traditionally go to the polls every election, those who you got to knock on the door and say, "What up, man? Do you like do you like to be stopped driving while black? Shopping while black, just being black?" I love the piece that you wrote. The bipartisan? No, what was it called? Patriotism.
Oh, patriotism in black.
Can we talk about that, man? That got me riled up. I was like, all right, Gov, thank you. Go ahead. Can you tell us about it?
You know, Ron,
yes.
I'm smiling when I hear you say it got you riled up, because I think I told you once before, you generate your own caffeine.
Oh yeah, I didn't even have tea this morning. I didn't. I was
fired up all the time.
Man, it's like especially when I'm fighting against injustice. That it just does something to me.
You know, I tell a story in that piece about my father-in-law, Diane's father, who grew up in Vicksburg, Mississippi, during Jim Crow, and who lied about his age and his race to join the Navy at 16 and fight the Nazis, and so that he wouldn't be confined in the galley, that he'd actually be out on deck, he'd be a warrior, he'd learn a trade. In fact, he learned to be an electrician, and when he was discharged, he settled in New York. He got a job as a union job as an electrician in a manufacturing facility, and ultimately started his own electrical contracting company. He lived a very middle-class life, and he was grateful to the country that made that possible. The irony of having to lie about his race in order to get that chance was not something he dwelled on.
Right.
And but his love of country was real, and it was deep. And I think what I'm trying to say is that, you know, I am also a patriot. I love the country that has made my chances possible to grow up on welfare on the south side of Chicago and have the opportunities I have had. But I also know that patriotism for black people is tricky, because you love a country that doesn't always love you back. And that, in a way, we are all having to come to terms with the fact that our history is not all fable. It is. It has a seamy underside. It has pain and harm and hurt and exclusion, and some of that still exists. It's not like we are the same country we were when we launched. I don't believe that. I think we've made extraordinary progress in my own lifetime.
Right.
But we are not finished if what we say we are as a country is what we really mean to be, which is a country dedicated to equality, to opportunity, and to fair play.
Wow, that's deep. Well, I know that no matter how high you go, and I don't know if you want to say this. I remember what you told me a long time ago, but I won't say it publicly if you don't want to. What Muhammad Ali told you. See, I don't forget
Did I
now.
tell you that?
What you told me that. We won't say anything, right?
Well, out of respect for his memory, I won't.
Okay.
But the point is,
Go ahead.
the point is, look, we will always be who we are.
Right.
We will always be. We will all. And what I mean by that is, there is still. It is still true in this country that the first thing people see when they see me is a black man.
That's
they
right.
don't see a former governor. They don't see a senior business executive. They don't see an investor. They don't see a civil rights lawyer. They don't see any of that first. They might get to that, but that's not the first thing they see. And, I've been stopped while driving for no reason when I was governor.
Was it in Milton?
I remember. No. It was on
Okay.
the Pike.
Okay. All right.
With one of the troopers driving, who was himself black and in plain clothes.
Okay.
We were, I've been while governor. I was in a store in Midtown, New York.
Mm.
In my, as my mother would say, my play clothes.
Right.
Jeans and a T-shirt and a baseball cap. And I had a backpack.
And you don't know what though?
Nice
Can I just say this? I don't mean to cut you off, Gov, but when you don't have a suit on, and you just described, bruh, you look like a little dude, man. I gotta say that.
Yeah.
I like that. The
My
Gov.
point is, people still look through each
Right,
other.
right.
They look right. They see what they think they know. And by the way, we all do this. We all do this.
Right.
I think only the reason I'm so self-conscious about it is because really of a transformative experience I had living in Africa after I graduated from college, and that whole experience of being with and around people who were different. They had similarities.
Right.
They were different, but they could take the same set of facts and experiences and reach completely different conclusions.
Right.
And that's culture, right? That's and so waiting a beat or two to understand who people are and what people are about, the richness that comes from that is something I have experienced, and because I've been in situations where I've been around folks who are different. Not a lot of us have.
That's right.
And we spend a lot of time taking a superficial glance in this or that direction, and then filling in the blanks with all of our suppositions.
Right.
And I know that has been my experience. It's happened to me, but I've been trying to train myself not to, in effect, do that to other people. And as I have, I've discovered that there are amazing people with incredible stories and deep, deep grace in every kind of community. And all I'm trying to do is be open to that.
Yeah, and even in this moment, the pandemic and everything, it's really, the life is just very challenging. We had a brother on earlier, cerebral palsy, Keith, who's been organizing for years with the disability community, and he's been, and Ron, we always talk about going out to vote, but what about the access for those of us who have disabilities? And so he was telling us, he called us out a couple of weeks ago on Boston Black News, and I say, that's right, Keith, I'm glad you remind us. And even like with people wearing masks, you can't see their mouth. What about the hearing impaired? What are we doing about that? So, I'm glad that the Together Fund is bringing groups together, supporting organizers, because it's so important, and particularly in this moment. What advice do you give us, Gov, how to continue to fight this fight when the odds just look so against us? What's coming out of that White House, it's just so much hate and everything. What advice do you give the folks so they can fill out the census, get registered, and how important this election is?
So, again, I know it's easy to get discouraged.
Mm-hmm.
I know that there is somebody like me, and while there is no one quite like you, Ron, there is somebody else urging people at election time to show up and to vote, to urging people before election time to make sure they are registered and that they participate, and then they vote, and they don't feel like enough changes.
Right.
And I understand that. I understand why that leads to the level of disengagement and discouragement that a lot of people feel. But I also feel like this is an unusually important moment because the economic fragility and social isolation and despair, as measured by things like opioid addiction, that has been the generational challenge of
right.
black people
mm-hmm.
and black communities. Now that's being felt by people all over the country. And I don't celebrate that. I say that that's an opportunity for us to see common cause and fix some big and broken systems that will make a profound difference for all of us now and going forward. So I feel encouraged by the energy and the urgency of so many of the young people who are out on the street
mm-hmm.
peacefully.
That's right.
Putting their collective foot down, and they come from every kind of community. And they have sort of said, to a generation and two before, look, we've been waiting for you to act like adults, to act like you were bearing some generational responsibility for us, and we won't wait any longer.
Right.
We will do it. So I feel really excited about that, and about the kind of reckoning that we are having racially, economically, socially, and otherwise. And while I think that is really scary for a lot of people,
mm-hmm.
I think better for us to see in that the possibility that it offers to make the country what it's supposed to be.
Right. Well, I again, the Dunk the Vote, we're going to 8 different cities. We have the media piece here. We're bringing the ground game to the social media space using a transformative approach because, I hear the young folks out there protest. God bless you. Now I want to get the protesters to the polls. We got to make sure we do that. And then afterwards, we hold the electeds and those in leadership accountable. Let's build the organization so we don't start again. It's just, folks always ask, what's the magic formula? You know what the magic formula? Pull up your sleeves, put on your boots, let's go and get busy. Do the work. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? That's and right. Share. Share the knowledge. And share the benefits. There's a line that John Kennedy said when he was running for president, which I still believe is true, and I thought it was true at the state level as well. He said that there are a handful of people who have the money and the connections to assure their interests on Capitol Hill. Right.
And he said everybody else is the responsibility of the President of the United States.
Right.
And I think if you think about how broken our system is and how much needs to be repaired, it is the people. There are certain people, and I dealt with them. A lot of them are good people.
Mm-hmm.
They don't care who the governor is. They don't really care who the president is. They know how to look after themselves.
That's right.
they know how to get their phone calls returned.
Right.
Whether the meek, not the mighty, whether the meek are seen and heard and cared about depends a whole lot on who the chief executive is.
Right.
And whether that person is inclined, is committed, and has a disposition that is about seeing and hearing everybody, and bringing their voices and their needs into and onto the agenda. And so I think it is about the elections, also about the census, which you've asked about a couple times.
Yeah.
Which seems like a kind of a boring administrative detail, but it turns out that a whole lot of government programs and benefits turn on whether you are counted. So it's like and since it happens every 10 years, it's like if a vote counts on Election Day, this is a vote in effect in the census that counts for a decade, and it's really, really important that everybody get counted.
Right. Yeah. Well, let me just say this. Speaking of getting your phone calls, I have folks calling me. I put your picture up on our Facebook page. They're calling me. I said, I ain't seen you since Grove Hall event. My phone's ringing off the hook. I'm telling you, man. So people are excited. Actually, we have someone who wants to call in, and they just keep calling me. I'm just going to let them just ask you one question. I know we only have until 9:30, so we're going to make sure that this call on the air. Ask one question, please. Who's this? Hello, caller.
Yes, good morning. Good morning.
Okay.
Good morning, Ron.
Good morning.
Good morning, Governor. How are you doing?
Good morning. I'm doing all right.
This is Priscilla from Banks, Governor. This is Brother Kenny's sister.
Hey, how are you?
How you doing? I'm good.
I'm doing all right.
I'm so happy to hear you on the radio. I am so glad that you are still in the fight, working to help our community build and do what we need to do to turn things around. Because we basically, so you may not know a lot about me, but I am the co-founder of the Black Economic Justice Institute, BG, and I'm also the convener for the Black Boston COVID-19 Coalition. And we're looking to move. I'm also a broadcaster on Boston Praise Radio. We have 3 shows: the BG Report, People Power with Priscilla, and the Civic Engagement Hour. And so we have been advocating for our community and fighting for our community to get better and to do better. Right. And we are in the process of holding the governor and the mayor accountable. They have, totally disrespected us. We ask for meetings with them, they ignore us. We ask for information, they ignore us. We know millions and billions of dollars are coming into this community, and we don't know where it's going, who's getting it. We're seeing reports of how the state lie about their minority contracting. We know that the Boston Resident Job Policy Commission is a joke.
All right. We know that a lot of things we need to do. Priscilla, thank you for calling in. Okay, I'm gonna talk to the gov afterwards. But you got your own broadcast. Let me just finish this one up. Okay. Wait. All right. I gave you some airtime. You're my big sister. I love you. But I'll finish up the conversation with the Governor. Okay. Bye, Priscilla. Bye. Okay.
Priscilla, thank you for calling and thanks for staying in the struggle.
Yeah, we're gonna help out. We all work together. They just get me. So the fire's burning, the flames are flickering. So we're gonna call our cousins and all the ones in the battleground states. Mama and them, and grandpa and cousins. Folks are ready. They seen your picture on Facebook. They said, Ron, what's going on? We taking the bus? We're flying down. We're going to do something. So thank you, Governor, for, spending the time with us this morning.
Thanks for having me on. I appreciate you.
Yeah, and we have some challenges ahead, but I know that together, not only we can, but together we did. And again, if you want to have final words to everyone, and then we got about a minute left, and give us our marching orders and so forth.
I'll just say this. It's important to talk to everybody, not just the people who already agree with us, not just the people who are already Democrats and always show up. There's a wonderful line that a guy named Anand Giridharadas spoke in a speech I heard recently when he said, "It's wonderful that everybody or so many people are woke." He said the question today is whether the woke are going to leave room for the still waking. And I think that's the thing worth thinking about. Because at the end of the day, we are all in this together.
We're all in this together. And together, my CEO here, go ahead and say something to the governor.
Governor, this is Pastor Bruce Wall. Great to have you back on our radio and TV station.
Thank you, Pastor. Thank you. We want to hear your voice.
We want to let you know that, again, this is your home radio and TV station in Boston. It's yours anytime you need it.
I appreciate you. Thank you so much.
God bless you, man. And we'll talk.
And be well.
Okay. Take care.
Stay healthy.
So definitely. Again, I just want to remind people that election time is here. We just had the governor of this Commonwealth, Deval Patrick, here, gave us words of encouragement, inspiration, and motivation. We are expanding with Dunk the Vote, Boston Black News, Boston Praise Radio and TV. This network, we're taking it across the country, and we need to make sure everyone understands the importance of getting out to vote. Priscilla, we're going to talk. I know you're ready. You're probably looking at me like, yeah, Ron, that's right. We are going to pull all our resources together. We're going to get everyone to roll up their sleeves. We're going to start, pounding the pavement again and again and again until we get City Hall to pay attention, until we get the State House to pay attention, so we can get a black mayor next year. I mean, we're going to have to really work hard. Use this as an opportunity. Let the flame in your belly flicker. Let, your soul, it's in your bones. Come on, let's get it ready, because we're going to do it today. We're going to do it until November 3rd, and then after that we're going to continue on organizing and mobilizing our folks. Those of you that are protesters, that love to protest, I want you to protest yourselves right to the polls. Bring grandmama and them. Make sure that they get the mail-in voting. You can trust it. I know it's a hard word to believe in what's going on with all the uncertainty of the COVID, the uncertainty of your economics and so forth, but I encourage you to hold on. And as you listen to this broadcast, we have another exciting brother that's coming up on the 10 o'clock hour, Thaddeus Miles. The brother who talks about black joy. Yes, we need some black joy, and I just want to make sure that everyone work together. We share our resources. We're going to make sure our community gets what it deserves. Reparations, we can have that conversation, but I believe that's just a down payment, and we need repairment. We need money in this community. I want everybody here, all you elected officials out there that are running, we need resources. We need resources for this, to bring the news to you. And I'm asking those that are out there to continue to support our efforts here at Boston Black News, that we are able to bring the news to you on the airwaves. You can view us on our local network, Boston Black News. That just gets that rings a bell right there. When folks hear about Boston has black people, we need to make sure that we show the story of the good side. It ain't just the killing. It ain't just the hardships and the economic. There's a lot of good activities, a lot of entrepreneurs out there that are doing great things in our community. We want to share the stories. Stories by us, for us, and to us, so that we can help each other, educate one another, each one reach one. 617-282-0685. Anyone want to call in now? I know the governor was here. We had Keith Jones earlier talking about the physical disabilities that the disability community face. That was a great conversation this morning. We're going to continue our broadcast with Thaddeus Miles to 10 o'clock hour. He's going to talk about the event that he had. This brother has been doing it. I interviewed him at the Milton Access TV. Well, we're doing a series called Black, the stories of black males in America. And this brother has done a lot of work in our community, and I just want to, before he come on, really applaud him for some of the things he's doing, and this whole initiative he had with the Black Joy. That just definitely brings joy to my heart, to seeing black people walk together in unison and really demonstrating and showcasing their talent in the arts and the community-based organization. It's just an exciting time for us. Although in this pandemic, it's an exciting to see the brothers down, the new Commonwealth Fund Group Corporation. My boy Paul Francisco was here. He was talking about how he's going to support our efforts here with Dunk the Vote and our efforts in getting out the news. And then we had Beckma. We want to thank you, Beckma. The Black Economic Council of Massachusetts was a Sagun Idawu. Thank you so much, brother, for your contribution to the Boston Black News. I know that you're going to help us continue to raise the resources we need. Boston Praise Radio, TV.co. Let's take a break in a little while because I need to get a little air. So thank you, and I'll see you at 10 a.m.